kind of the state of the world now, right? Just no. All of the no. One of the things that I'm trying to do to keep me feeling like a person, you know, not going crazy while I stay inside is, one, be creative, produce the fun things. Kitties make people happy when they're sad, so you have to come on camera. This is our duty. This is what we do for the people. We give them cute things. Anyway, one of the things that I've been doing is I've been kind of doing like full-on glam makeup, like full done-up craziness to stay in my house. And at first it felt weird being like, well, do I really want to do it to my skin and everything else? And like, yeah, I'm stuck inside. Meh. But the other part of me is, it gives me something to do. And it invigorates me to like dress like a real person, because if my face is looking away and then I don't have like clothes I would leave my house in normally, because I can't leave the house now, I don't know, it just makes me more productive. I'm one of those people, I like to be all together. And two, we're on three, one of the things that I've noticed is that I have really been leaning into my spirituality as a whole. So we're gonna do some makeup and we're gonna talk a little bit about that, and hopefully this entertains y'all if you're stuck inside. Let's see, first things first, I kind of want to talk about how much I am doing the non-stop gratitude thing. I'm gonna make a video, probably post it a little later this week. We'll see. The videos are probably gonna go way up in the publishing thing, because you know there's not much else to do, and I'm like, hey, at least I could do this. I'm really focusing on is the overall gratitude. At first it was like really more selfishly based, I guess, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing. I think if that's what's going to keep you in a positive mindset, do that. It's just things like, oh, I have coffee at home that I can make that's really good. I have a bright apartment that, you know, it's very sunny. A lot of it was juxtaposition to my last apartment, which you guys have seen before in previous videos, was just very small and dark, and if I was stuck in that, I would feel very a different way than I'm feeling now. So I'm grateful that I was able to move and do that before all this kind of broke out. You know, it's kind of like just like juxtaposing how even there are moments in my life way back when where we weren't in quarantine and stuff, but like how much better my life is now, even though I'm still stuck in the apartment. And like just making juxtapositions with my own life in that way has seemed to help. I don't know. And then the other thing that I'm noticing is I'm just kind of like going around and being grateful for the things that do make me feel invigorated, and that's where it kind of leads to makeup and I guess a little bit of glamour magic as a whole, right? Because I have things where it's like, oh cool, one, I got my mirror out that I do a little scrying with, and I'm like, well, we're gonna do a little bit of glamour magic with it. Every time I'm getting ready, I'm using this mirror as opposed to like being in my bathroom and doing the thing. I was like, well, that's kind of cool. And like, no matter what, like you see all the other beauty gurus, just it feels a level of, I don't know, doing my makeup with a handheld mirror feels fancy, and doing my makeup with an item that I do other magic with also just seems to connect the energies. I don't know, that's just me. Maybe it's just me reaching a bit there, but you know, I feel like this is kind of the time to reach, right? It's the time to do things. And also just like, sometimes we just write out health in horrible cursive. Can you even read that kind of ish in our cover up? Because we can. This is something I do sometimes on the regular too, especially when I'm wanting to be doing magic in places where I don't want it to be obvious. Like I do a lot of magic with like stuff like this where it's like it's gonna go away, but I feel like I'm pressing the highlighter and stuff into my skin, or the cover up into my skin, foundation, what have you, whatever I'm using, right? People who've seen me do my makeup before will be probably very happy to see, yes, I now own a beauty blender. Look at me go. We are leveling up in the makeup world. But the word glamour and glamour magic, I think, is something that, again, very easy, very mundane. It can take a minute, I think, especially when it comes to connotations of the word glamour in today's society and how it's kind of evolved and been brought in with mass culture to connect it with magic. I have noticed at times where like I particularly will struggle with using a tool in any way, shape, or form to feel connected to my craft. If it feels in any way, quote unquote, culturally shallow, I guess. Like, I don't know, it just feels very I don't know what to say about it. Like, it's just when something feels something that doesn't have natural depth to it, or my association of depth with it, I can feel quote unquote weird and guilty for using it in my magical practice. And it's like, why is that a thing? Why is it that I feel at times a weird aversion to having makeup be a part of my spiritual routine in any way, shape, or form, right? And then I also had the thought, a lot of my friends that I'm FaceTiming with, or a lot of us have been using, what is that weird ass app? Marco Polo. I don't know if you guys know about that, where it's like, it's kind of like Snapchat, but they keep the messages for longer. I think that's the difference. I don't know. But we've been using that to kind of like just like talk with each other as we're like going about our days and feeling a little less, I don't know, separate from each other. And one of my friends was talking about how her and her boyfriend have been getting dressed up. Like they're like gonna go out for the night every time they sit down for dinner, which I thought was really nice. I was like, oh, that's a good idea. You know, along with just like getting ready, like full on ready for the day. Get into the habit of, no, I get dressed and then I'm productive. I put on my makeup and then I'm productive. Then you just associate those things over time, and it's easier to, I guess, not fall into a pit of just like refreshing the horrible news around the world on your phone, right? And then I thought, well, what can I do? Like, what can I like schedule an event around getting ready, right? Like I feel like I need a reason, like the same way that their reason is dinner. What's my reason for getting ready every day? And part of me is like, oh, it could be just like creativity. That's fine. I'm like, to an extent, yes, but also like I feel like I need more. Like if I'm gonna get a full freaking face of makeup on and go all the way out with this, like I need another reason. And I thought, oh, well, I could do something with, hi baby, my spirituality. And I do get dressed up and like do more, I don't know, like a full face of makeup or a nice outfit or something for Sabbaths type of deal. But I was like, oh, you know what? It's something that I've always kind of admired, and in a way, I guess envy a bit from my Southern Baptist relatives, is the idea of wearing your Sunday best to your place of spiritual worship, right? Like, I always loved when we went to visit them as a kid, because my mom was like, we don't have to actually listen to any of this stuff. Like, we can listen to it and it's nice and it gives these people whatever, but you know, don't take any of it too much seriously. I remember being there as a kid and getting like really excited, like, oh, we're getting dressed up. And like, I remember being like, we're going to get dressed up to go do the boring thing, which is like listen to the men talk about something I didn't understand. And then we get to go to brunch. Like, it was like, oh, the whole, you know, Sunday church and brunch thing was very fun and entertaining for me, and it did give a level of significance to what we were doing. It's like, oh, we have to get dressed up for this. This is a, you know, fancy thing. And I do fall into the habit, not just now, like being stuck in my apartment with everything. And just, I think in general, I do the thing of, well, I don't need to get dressed up for my altar, because you don't need to, right? Like, you don't need to get dressed up for any of this stuff in your spiritual practice. That is not necessary at all. You could just connect with your naked ass body in the woods, in your room, hell, in the shower, who cares? Like, you can connect with the divine and the spirituality in so many different ways. You don't necessarily need to get dressed up at all. And because of that lack of need, I just would never do it. So yeah, I can lean towards lazy. Like, let's be honest here. Like, I'm just a lazier person. If I don't have to do it, why am I doing it at all? But one of the things that just really, I think I've been enjoying the last couple of days in doing this, is I get dressed up now to go to my altar. And sometimes I will curate. I've curated looks before around like contouring or like certain things, like using more earth tones for grounding with makeup, or if I want black, you know, if you want to embody a certain thing, do a look surrounding that feeling, that vibe, that, you know, if you're feeling a more, you know, you want some romance, you want to allure some love, you know, add a little flush to your cheeks, you know, things that we associate with romance in a sense can then be curated in your makeup. And then that is glamour magic. I'm doing this to allure someone to me, to present a certain energy that hopefully the universe will reflect back to me. And I've done that before with the concept of literally just getting dressed up to sit at my altar. Like, there is no other reason than I am wearing my spiritual, magical, pagan best. I know it's like not a Sunday thing, like, you know, your Sunday's best. It's like, what do we call it? Our Thursday's best. My Sobek's best, my Loki's best. I don't even know what Loki's best would be. Would it be fancy as fuck with like just one crazy ass thing? You're like, why? Probably. Although then that's an expectation, so of course he's gonna subvert that. And I think I've talked previously on my channel in the past about going skyclad or being just in the nude while you do your things and have your fun, and or the whole idea of like ritualistic clothing, of like wearing a particular cloak or outfit. I know certain covens do that, and it has never really appealed to me. I definitely still do from time to time when I feel my clothing is lacking or add a new piece to my wardrobe. I do bless all my clothes, or I'll bless that particular item to imbue some sort of sacred magic. Sometimes it's protection, sometimes it's for a particular blessing. Like, I just imbue my energy into the cloth, and so as I'm wearing it around my body and around as things go on, you know, like, I do the thing to like make it more comfy. But still that idea of like, no, but I have to getting dressed up for the reason of sitting at my altar, for just the idea of wearing my best, or wearing something that is curated specifically for just the time, my spiritual time, is not something I naturally lean towards until suddenly it was like, well, this is something to do. And while I definitely wore a bit, I think, with the whole idea of things needing to be like, I don't necessarily think your effort put in is equivalent to the worth of a thing, right? Like, if you spend 7 hours on a ritual, that is not necessarily equivalent to how potent that ritual is going to do in providing magic into your life, if that makes sense, right? And it's the same thing with like everything. It's like, oh, well, if I'm the person who is sitting at my altar in sweats, it is not at all demeaning or off in the same way that me sitting at my altar in a full-ass ball gown to present that to the universe and my deities as a whole, right? Like, it still can have the same amount of reverence and support. That it's not a signifier of my devotion. Yes, word. If that makes sense, right? I am making a mess all over my face, but we're just not gonna. We'll fix it in a minute, because we have the time to do such things. What do I want to do? No, we're gonna do this one. Really putting the emphasis on being not just like in my everyday clothes, but like really leaning into the idea of each time I sit at my altar is a sacred moment, deserving of all of my effort, because I have the time to do that. And I don't know what it is about it. One, I think it's definitely probably because I just enjoy, in times of stress, I definitely find a huge amount of solace with leaning on my craft. And as most people do with their spirituality, right? Like, that's one of the main reasons we imbibe in the spirituality and everything else, is because it feels great to really lean into something when the world is feeling shaky. And if you can lean on the universe or your deities or the earth or whatever else, then you don't feel so alone. It doesn't feel so, I don't know, completely horrible out of left field. You know, it's just natural to do that, right? And I guess I'm showing kind of my devotion and my appreciation through just as simple as, yeah, I'm gonna get dressed up to give my gratitude. Like, this is part of my gratitude, is I'm taking the time to present myself in a very curated way. Creation in general is just something sacred to me, because I feel like the sparks of inspiration, those moments where our mind connects to something outside of us, for me, they're there for a reason. They are not just something to ignore or shrug off as our brain's trying to figure out the weird things our subconscious is doing. Like, I think yes, but I also think it is a sign of something grander than us attempting to connect. And in that, wanting to connect is messages from possibly other spirits, the divine, whatever manifestation it comes to you in, our deities attempting to just get us to, I guess, level up in life, right? Especially if you're someone who is artistic and leans on more artistic things to get you through hard times. Like, I definitely noticed where, yeah, there are things that are hard for me artistically. My graphic novel is apparently just been a wall for me, although I have been working on it and getting a little more done here and there. There are still other ways, like if I just sit down to draw my altar or sketch or any sort of artistic expression, naturally at some point I feel like if I'm not that good at it, like, and if I can't get to the moment of just like doing it for fun, if I'm like overthinking the actual expression and what's happening, it can feel very weird. But in so many ways, the act of just creating things is me connecting to what is out there, because it feels like, I don't know, the whole like opening of your mind to possibility, even within the confinements of like a piece of paper or a blob of clay or a digital screen, like whatever it is I'm making on even my face. It's like it feels like a weird way of practicing. I don't know, like what is that, Helen Bonham Carter, I never can say her name right when I'm trying to say it all at once. The quote about how all of life is art, I'll probably put a post or something up here. Like, all of your life is art. How you put it all together, all of it is a curation. In a lot of ways it feels like, yeah, because if all of life is the creation and the mixing of this awesomeness, maybe it's because eventually as energetic beings we are practicing and preparing to create something even more, I don't know, beyond the means of our comprehension, right? Another life, a world, entire dimension to exist within, a universe, who knows? I always love to play with that type of possibility in my mind. Because again, I still firmly stick to the, I have no fucking idea what happens to us after we die. I'll figure it out when I get there. You know, like I'll die and be like, oh, that's what happens. Or maybe there'll even be more questions. That's probably what's gonna be. Everyone's gonna be like, oh, we'll die and we'll figure it out then. Probably just figure out even more. Add even more things to be like, okay, great, you answered this question, now I've got 70 others. I think, in whatever way is a creative expression for you, and see it instead of a sign, seeing it as instead of something to keep you busy, something just to do. What if it is a act of devotion, right? We see our time as something so sacred, and if all you have is time right now to reflect on your life, be alone, you know, be in this confinement, it can be difficult to see that as sometimes a blessing, but that we once would have regarded it as, right? Like, how many times did we say before all this, oh, if only there were more hours in the day. Oh, if only I had the time to read that book, to do that ritual, to spend the time to make a fun look like this. If only I had the time, if only I had the space, if only I had a moment and the ability to do so. And suddenly so much of us has suddenly been presented with those very things. Am I still getting black all over my face? You know what? We're leaning into it. We're gonna lean into it. Mistakes will still happen. My time to me is in so many ways so precious, right? Like, my attention and my time are the biggest indicators of what I love and what is important to me. And if that's the case, then being presented with so much of it to do so much of what I really enjoy and used to like be mad about my life, really advanced makeup, for a really great ritual, for time to make videos, you know what I mean, to work on my comic. And I'm just trying to refocus it that way instead of doing the never-ending scrolling on the phone and being like, why is the universe like this right now? So it's either gratitude for all the small things that I, you know, still have that so many don't, or it's in a lot of ways just gratitude for the fact that, hey, you know, so maybe I didn't want it in this mode. No one did. No one wanted the coronavirus to come and to be doing this to the world at large. But it has presented me with the weird ass silver lining of having the time to do some things that I never really felt I had proper time to do before. And if I'm gonna take that time and to play video games and have fun with my makeup and connect with my creativity in every outlet I can think of, then I'm also definitely going to make sure that, for me at least, it's well used in giving that to ritual and to my deities, the universe at large. Because sometimes I think we can all struggle with, right, where when big, huge, the whole fucking world is freaking out right now at times, we don't know what our place is. What do we do? Is there something more we could do? Do I even have the mental health, stability, what have you, to help other people? What else can I do? And then if I think I'm helping, am I suddenly hindering? You know, I definitely had moments where I would feel guilty and think, oh, I should be ordering out more to help support restaurants in my area. I should be giving more of myself in some ways to people, and then suddenly would, you know, just feel the overwhelm kick in and not know where to go with any of that. And eventually I got to the point of like, you know what? You do what you can and stop feeling, you know, do what you can with what you actually have control over, and listen to those who have more knowledge than you, the CDC, the orders from the local government, etc. Attempt to weed through the weird shit that's going on all over the country with misinformation. You do your best with what you got and focus on those blessings instead of in all the ways that maybe you can't do something that you really would love to do to help somebody out. And definitely, I don't know about all of you, but I definitely have to not focus at all on the things that I would normally be doing throughout my days. Things like drawing at coffee shops. I made a big list in my journal the other day at my altar of all the things that I miss. I just gave myself a good 15-20 minutes of listening to a sad song and allowing it to spill out of me all the things that I really miss doing. And then I shut the book on it, and I haven't really thought about it much because I'm not gonna let myself get into that mindset of like, oh, well, look what I had and what I don't now, right? I don't want to get into a mindset of lack because, one, my lacks are so small in comparison to other people out there, right? I know a lot of people are saying like keep perspective, right? They're all going on and on and on about how you should keep perspective. You should remember that there is someone out there who doesn't have their health, who doesn't have their family, who doesn't have Wi-Fi, who doesn't have a job, all that. And if that helped you, good, great for you. But for me, I have never been a person where that has helped with. If anything, it just makes me feel guilty, and then the weird doom spiral kicks in of my unworthiness and why do I have these things if everyone else doesn't, and how do I get it off of me as soon as possible to or them in lack so I can feel, I guess, good about what I don't have. I don't know. It's very weird. It's a toxic spiral that I get into with that. So like I said, if I'm going to compare earlier in this video, I'm going to compare anything. I'm going to compare things like, hey, look, I didn't have time, now I do have time. If I'm trying to find like the silver lining positives, right? It's something of like, I had a job and I still have a job. I'm stable. Compare where I can with my own life. And focus on the blessings that way. So otherwise I get into this weird guilty thing. And time again when I get into that space and I go to my altar, I have noticed Loki and Sobek definitely pop up with that. And they just give me this very disapproving look of like, how is that helpful? You getting into a guilt spiral, how is that helping anybody? It's like, probably not. Me going into full martyr mode, not gonna do anything for anyone else. So, this is me today, all done up. I'm gonna probably go sit at my altar and do a bunch of spiritual journaling. I do still have a job, so I will be doing my work and feeling gratitude for the work that I'm doing, for the money that it is bringing in. I hope all you guys are staying safe, and I hope that you find stability and comfort in whatever way you can. And there will be more videos coming to this channel, so if you have requests, you know, ideas, things you'd like me to talk about in general, comment all that down below. If you were attending to my live, I am still attempting to figure out what would be a good time and topics that me and my sister can talk about if we do like a video together that can go up on the channel. I hope you guys all stay safe and healthy. All of my good energy to you guys. So, see you next time.